We're back after a few videos out and about. It's good to be back in the studio, and today's recipe is brought to you by a craving I had ever since I made this dish on my short format content, the Vada Pav. And apologies for butchering the pronunciation last time. So last time I made Vada Pav for you was the first time I've eaten it, and I absolutely loved it. So I thought I'd slow it down, do a long format video because it's too good not to share. So let's get stuck in. The Vada. Now these look like a sweet potato. Got confused as a sweet potato when I last did it. It's not, it's just a normal potato with a red skin. But what you're looking for is any potato that works well for mashing. Peel them, dice them into about 6 pieces into cold water. Then we're gonna season it with salt, bring it to the boil and cook it until they're fork tender. The first of the 3 chutneys is like a real simple herb chutney. So we got some picked and washed coriander leaves. I'm gonna call that like a decent handful. Mint, you want about, I'm gonna say twice the amount of mint. I think it helps with the heat. Then cumin seeds, half a tablespoon. Just gonna lightly toast those. 2 cloves of garlic, a green chilli. Cut it up, makes it easier for the blender to do its thing. Juice of a lemon. And lastly, a good pinch of salt. Blend that up. And that is our first chutney done. On to the tamarind. All right, the tamarind chutney. Now, you should be using the proper tamarind that you soak in water and then drain it. But this is a good alternative. This is tamarind paste. It's basically all that hard work done for you. It's got a bit of water in there though, and some preservatives. We're gonna go 3 heaped tablespoons of that. 2 cloves of garlic, just microplaned or grated finely. About a thumb-sized piece of ginger. Just peel it and then we'll finely grate it into there also. Salt. Small pinch, don't want it too salty. And 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. Coconut sugar also works really well. Then we're just gonna give this a mix and on the heat to cook through. This won't take long. What you're looking for is just the sugars to dissolve and everything to kind of, all the flavors to kind of marry up. But that consistency is pretty good, so you don't want to reduce it too much. And there it is, pretty simple. Chutney number 2. All right, let's get stuck into the last one and my favorite one. But before we get stuck in, we actually have to make the batter for when we fry the potato. So let's do that. So this batter is made with besan flour. Now besan flour is chickpea flour. It's a really simple batter. It's 3 ingredients, the besan flour, a little bit of salt and water. So add your besan flour to the bowl, season it with salt, and pour in the water until you get the right consistency. So what you're looking for is a reasonably thick batter, something like you would use if you're battering fish, maybe a little bit thicker than a tempura batter, like a thickened cream almost. And the besan flour has this really lovely flavor, almost nutty flavor, and really cool color. It's like quite yellow. Almost looks like mustard powder. And as that besan flour rehydrates, it might thicken up over time. So don't be afraid to add a little bit more water as and when needed. It's also gluten-free. So if you've got gluten-free bread, this is a really great dish for celiacs. So the reason we need to make this batter before we make this last chutney, the spicy garlic one, is because we need all the crispy bits, which will blend together with some chili powder and garlic. So let's head over to the hot oil. So in here we have some vegetable oil. We want that about 180 degrees. So I've just checked these potatoes and it looks like they're ready. So we're just gonna drain these and then we'll let them steam so that they dry out. So put the colander back in the pot carefully and we'll let those steam and that will evaporate any moisture on them. And when I say fork tender, this is what I mean. They're perfectly cooked but they're still holding shape. So all we're gonna do is carefully kind of ribbon batter into this so that we end up with lots of little crispy bits. You're just gonna move them around a bit, fry them till they're nice and golden. And then we'll pull them out and put them on some dry paper towel. The next part is really simple. Ideally you want a food processor. You can just use your hand, just chop it with a knife if you wanted to. In these delicious crispy bits go. Think. Into that, 3 cloves of garlic. This is really awkward cutting over a food processor. Chili powder, spicy stuff. Say a good teaspoon and some salt. Give that a blitz. Now what you want is the garlic to be well distributed, but you still want some little texture. Whew. This is my favorite chutney by far. It's so good. When you think of chutney, you don't think of this kind of dry like texture, but it works incredibly well. So there it is, our 3 chutneys, our spicy and really textural dry chutney. We've got our herbaceous one, which just kind of cuts through all that spice, and our sweet and sour tamarind. It's time to start flavoring that potato. All right, to flavor our potatoes, we're gonna dice some garlic, green chili. Now, don't judge me, but I'm gonna take the seeds out of this one. It's because Dazz is a wuss. All right, curry leaves. These have been in my freezer, so they look a little bit sad, but they still taste the same. Now, we don't need to be too particular about this. We're just gonna run a knife through them. And it's definitely worth hunting down some fresh ones, not using the dried ones. And some coriander. Don't be too scared about picking this one. Just keep the stalks in there, it's fine. And then as far as spices, we've got some mustard seeds and some turmeric. In a pot or a large saucepan over a medium-high heat, add a couple of tablespoons of vegetable oil or ghee. And then we're just gonna temper that oil with some mustard seeds. So you're just looking for these to start popping. Once these start popping, we start adding our other aromats. So we'll start with the chili. Just make sure you control your temperature. If it sounds like it's starting to kind of get a bit hectic in there, turn it down. Garlic. Curry leaves. Now I've turned that heat off completely because it's time to introduce our potato back. So in goes potato. You can just shove this in and use a hand masher. To that, I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt and turmeric. Combine everything together so that it's all one uniform color before we add our coriander. All right, I'm going to roll these before we batter them and fry them. So you want them about the size of golf balls. To fry these, our oil's at 180 degrees. Please be careful, hot oil is dangerous. Into the batter, make sure they're well covered. And in they go. And just do them in batches. I'm gonna do 3 in this pot because you just don't want the oil temperature to drop too low. After about 20 seconds, just move them, and that just makes sure that they're not stuck to the bottom. So you're looking for a really nice golden brown color. Because we just made these potatoes, the potato's still warm, so we're not too concerned about the temperature of the potato inside. So this dish is so popular in Mumbai now. There's literally thousands of stalls that sell it. The original stall is still run by the guy that invented it, his son, which is pretty cool. Definitely want to go check that out next time I'm in Mumbai. All right, these are good to go. Onto some paper towel. Rinse and repeat. Now, one thing I forgot crucially last time, and I got pulled up for it rightfully so, was the fried green chilies that go beside it. Woo! Now, careful with these because they're gonna pop. All right, the bread, which is also really important. So what you're after is a white, soft white roll like this. Bit of tamarind on the bottom. And I think at this point, it's kind of a make your own journey type of thing. If I was having a party, I'd just put this out and let people go ham. Potato, some of this stuff, the crunchy bits. And there it is, the Vada Pav. Oh, honestly, for a cost-effective vegetarian slider effectively, you cannot go past the Vada Pav. They just work so well, delicious. I really hope I've done this dish justice because I know how much the people of Mumbai love it. Let me know in the comments if you season it differently or if you've been to the original stall. Like this video if you took anything from it. Subscribe if you're not, and we'll see you next week for another recipe. Peace. Oh yeah.